Welcome to One on One with Expert Flyer. I'm your host, Lisa Caslin, and today we're talking about voluntourism and navigating some of the not always virtuous aspects of it. Our guest today is Jeff Blumenfeld, and he's the author of a book called Travel with Purpose, a field guide to voluntourism. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good to
Happy to
have you.
talk to you from Boulder, Colorado, which is where I'm based.
Oh, wonderful. So I know you have an incredible CV. I know that you own and operate a PR firm, and you've also, aside from writing this book, you've written a few others, and you're also the editor and publisher of Expedition News. So you're a busy guy.
Well, that's correct. Through the Explorers Club, the International Exploration Society, I've been tracking expeditions around the world for about 28 years. The first book is called Get Sponsored, which helped people get funding for the trip of their dreams. And the
Hmm.
short course on that is to get funding for the trip of your dreams, the trip's got to be more than just you. No one's going to pay you for a vacation. And then
Uh-huh.
that led into a book about voluntourism. And the basic philosophy of that is you can see the world and make a difference at the same time. Volunteerism allows you to lend a hand wherever you go, no matter where you go. You don't even need a passport. You
Yeah.
could do it while visiting Las Vegas. You could do it like I did when going to Denver. So voluntourism, you're totally in control. You can do it for an hour. You could do it for a few hours, an afternoon, a week, a month. You could join the Peace Corps for 6 months. It's totally up to you. The important part is you're making a tiny little difference in the world,
Yeah.
making the world a better place.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a noble endeavor. I was doing a little reading before we spoke, and NPR did a story last July, and it really sort of centered around how the pandemic changed voluntourism. And obviously there are good parts to it, and just as you say, you don't need a passport, because now everybody's so comfortable on Zoom and other forms of communication that folks are actually helping other people around the world simply by interacting on their computer, offering their
Mhm.
expertise and advice. um, and then there's sort of this other side where I think there's many groups out there, probably thousands, and I think that the article cited the industry at somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 billion a year is generated by voluntourism. So I guess some of these groups in some of these countries have sort of gotten led down a dark path in some cases, and I want to be sure that we talk a little bit about that, only because I want to make travelers who are interested in partaking in something like this aware and give them some good advice about organizations that are reputable, that will help them plan that trip, that will
Right.
end up helping those that they want to help.
Well, the important thing whenever you travel anywhere is to do your homework. I don't care where you're going. If you're going to Anguilla, if you're going to Barbados, and you're staying in a hotel, do your homework. Look at what's been written about that place, and vet the location. The same thing true goes for voluntourism, and there's a dark side of voluntourism. Um, in many countries, particularly Nepal, which I've seen, I've been there twice as a volunteer.
Hmm.
Um, in Nepal, the orphanages have become a for-profit business. Shady businessmen go up into the countryside and they say to these impoverished families, let us take your child to the big city. We'll educate them, we'll feed them, we'll clothe them, and let's call them orphans. So in some cases, you could go to an orphanage and these kids have parents,
Yeah.
but they've been taken down from the countryside and they are fed just enough, they're clothed just enough, and the kids are actually taught to kind of suck up to tourists and
Oh boy.
encourage tourists to donate more money. So that's not in every case, but it has been known to happen. And you just need to do your homework. I
Okay.
traveled with a group called Dooley Intermed, Dooley intermed.org,
Hmm.
and they are totally above board and doing just great, great work. You can go on volunteer trips um, by trading a service.
Hmm.
Many of these trips need expertise. If you're a registered nurse, for instance,
Hmm.
there are many opportunities for you to go on a volunteer vacation. If you're a medical doctor, if you're a photographer, if you're a writer, as I was, I had the opportunity to go to Nepal twice, and I volunteered on a trip to Antarctica once. And these are
Yeah.
life-changing for me. And I was able to volunteer my time and contribute to the experiences of others who went on that trip as well. In the case of Nepal, it was all about cataract surgeries.
Hmm.
There are people in Nepal who are blind for no other difference, for no other reason than they have cataracts.
Wow.
And that's cataract surgery is and can provide an immediate result overnight.
Yeah.
You go from blindness to sighted. And so I was a volunteer, not as an eye surgeon,
Hmm.
but I went to document the trip. And you
Wow.
can do that too.
How
So
did you
there's a
get?
dark side.
How did you secure that opportunity? I'm just curious.
Well, through contacts. In my case, it was through the Explorers Club, the Exploration Society based in New York, founded in 1905
Uh-huh.
with 3,600 members around the world. And I met somebody who said they're running this trip to Nepal and they need a writer and a photographer to help promote what they're doing so that they get more
Yeah.
donation. So it
Yeah.
was terrific for me. But there are lots of church groups doing overseas missions that you can go on.
Hmm.
You could also volunteer for Habitat for Humanity.
Hmm.
And there are a number of groups that you could look up and go on a volunteer vacation, volunteer opportunities. And in Travel with Purpose, my book, there are about 30 opportunities to consider, 30
Great.
companies that are running these trips.
Okay. So if we were to break down opportunities by geography, let's say, and we'll leave North America for last, but if one was interested in Asia, as an example,
Yeah.
what's to do there? What's the need, and where is it happening?
Well, in Asia, I can't really break it down by country like that, but I could tell you that there's a group like ARCAS, ARCAS.
Hmm.
They serve Guatemala. There's the Discover Corps. That's something to look into. There is a global giving. Particularly, I'm a big fan of Habitat for Humanity.
Hmm.
They're doing lots of great work in the Himalayas. There are volunteer programs. In Honduras, there's a Honduras Outreach, which is hoi.org. Even a country like Iceland,
Hmm.
there's a group called SEEDS, SEEDS.is, which needs volunteers. And one of my favorite groups is Shelterbox. This is an organization where, when in time of need, they ship plastic survival boxes all over the world, and they're looking for volunteers as well.
Hmm.
Um, Here domestically, there's a group called volunteermatch.org. This is the Tinder. This is the match.com linking. You don't swipe left or right, but this links volunteers in the United States
Uh-huh.
with literally thousands of opportunities. So you go into volunteermatch.com, you give them your zip code for Denver, 803,
Hmm.
17, for instance, and up pops dozens of volunteer opportunities for you.
Hmm.
In the case of Habitat for Humanity, where I live near Denver, they need volunteers every day.
Yeah.
And you literally just sign up on a grid and show up. You sign up and you show up. Boom, you're a volunteer.
So let me ask you, when you have when you've gone on these volunteer adventures, what was maybe the most surprising thing that sort of happened to you or that you experienced that maybe you weren't expecting?
Well, first of all, to go into a remote Nepali village
Hmm.
and see this one woman named Chinja, 65 years old. She had to come in piggyback. Her son had to bring her in piggyback into
Wow.
the village. She's been blind for 3 years and doesn't like to wear shoes because she can't feel the ground. And she's blind. She's blind
Yeah.
by cataracts.
Uh-huh.
She had surgery, and overnight she gets her sight back and sees her son for the first time in years, sees
Oh,
her grandchild for the first time
yeah.
ever.
Oh,
And just that experience for me, tears are coming down my eyes.
yeah. That's moving.
They show up in the morning with bandages on. They pull the bandage off, and she could see
Mm,
for the first time in years. Here in the
extraordinary.
States, if you get cataracts, you run to the ophthalmologist.
Right.
In Nepal, it gets to the point where you're actually blinded in both eyes by
Oh my
cataract.
gosh.
So
Yeah.
that was a real eye opener for me. And the other thing is, you can make a difference, even if it's a tiny difference.
Hmm.
You're making a difference in their lives. It reminds me of the parable of the starfish. This man's walking down the beach and he sees this little boy on the beach, and the beach is littered with starfish. And the boy is taking up a starfish and he's throwing one in.
Hmm.
And he's taking up another one and he's throwing one in. And the man says to the little boy, "What are you doing?" And the boy says, "Well, I'm sending the starfish back into the sea." And the man says, "There are thousands of starfish. What difference does it make?" And the little boy says, "Well, it made a difference to that one, and it made a difference to that one." And that's the point.
Yeah. No, it is a good point. There's been some other points made. This notion of, I don't know, the Western Messiah, and whether or not these large organizations should, be so heavy-handed in terms of entering these local communities and sort of telling them, well, you need to do this and that, rather than maybe you know. Uh, letting it sort of emerge from within, provide the training, I guess, initially, and the resources. So it's like, you're talking about parables, right? You give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach a man to fish, right? He eats for the
Right.
rest of his life. So I wondered if you had any thoughts on that.
Well, that's called the white savior complex.
Yeah.
Now, here you are. Typically, it's younger kids, younger millennials. Uh, they're going into a community. They're taking selfies left and right.
Mm-hmm.
They're posing with the poor, underprivileged, people of color. And look at me, I'm saving them. And
Mm.
then they do lots of selfies. They
Mm-hmm.
are totally oblivious
Mm-hmm.
to it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be careful about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I went to Nepal. I took some selfies. I posted on Facebook. I did it in a way to communicate the fact that, here I was volunteering in Nepal, and you could too.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people go looking for likes and looking for the
Right. Virtue
Facebook followers.
signaling.
Virtue, virtue signaling. That's right. You have to be aware of that. You have to be self-aware. You're not there, you know, as the white savior for these countries.
Yeah.
And if you look on YouTube under white savior complex, you'll see a lot of parody spoofs of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That they're here coming to a poor country to save the world. No, I think if you do come to a country and you build a library, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you come to a country and help build um, a community center, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend that went to Honduras and she helped build a community center. And I said, "Jennifer, what kind of skills do you
Yeah.
have to build a community center? You're a white woman from Minnesota. What? You've never picked up a hammer." And she said, "Jeff, just Don't worry about it. What they asked us to do required no skills at all. Put rocks in a wheelbarrow. That's what she was doing. Put rocks in a wheelbarrow and move the wheelbarrow over. So she wasn't doing electrical work. She
Right.
wasn't doing plumbing. You
She was
know,
a laborer.
she was a laborer. She
She
was
was
helping out. She wasn't, they didn't have to redo her plumbing work
right.
or her electrical work. She says, what we did, we were just arms and legs for
Yeah.
that project.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she brought her kids and taught the kids the value of volunteering.
Yeah, I do. I like that. I like that, and hopefully the children will grow up with that memory and pay it forward, when
Well,
the
and then
time
also
is right.
going into a school and helping the kids practice their English.
Yeah,
Get almost anybody
that's fantastic.
who
Yeah.
speaks English. But you also can be a volunteerist by packing 5 pounds worth of supplies in your luggage. There's a group called Pack for a Purpose. I love
Mhm.
this group.
Yeah.
You tell them where you want to go. They say, okay, great. You're going to Honduras. They really need aspirin. Could you bring 5 pounds of aspirin?
Wow.
That's like a no-brainer. Or sanitary napkins. Or they could really use Band-Aids. They're hard to get. They tell you what to pack
Mhm.
for a purpose. And when you arrive, they'll pick it up.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that.
And then another group called Hope Floats, hopefloats.org, that's targeted for cruise ship passengers. So if your cruise ship pulls into Barbados, rather than going to some cheesy t-shirt shop, you tell Hope Floats, they'll say, great, Barbados, great. Get in a cab, go see Jose. They'll put you to work at the Humane Center, at the Humane
Mm.
Society. You won't get to play with the animals, but he needs help cleaning out the cages.
Mhm.
And that basically takes no skill, no
Mhm.
training.
Mhm.
But you also meet the locals
You do.
and spend 4 hours doing that, and then go back play bingo, then go back for your buffet, and you become a volunteerist. So it's totally up to you
I
how much
love it.
what you want to put into it.
All right. So final words on for somebody who is just kind of tuning into this type of holiday. What's your what is your best piece of advice? How to get started? Is it go to volunteer match? Is it think through the types of things that you want to do? How do you start?
Put the name. First of all, um, what are your interests?
Hmm.
You decide to yourself. Do you love animals? Then you put down Honduras volunteer animals, and up will pop volunteer opportunities for animals. Do you love art? uh, Put in Guatemala, art volunteer, and there may be opportunities for you to teach art in a school for a week. You may want to put in El Salvador, ESL, English as a second language,
Hmm.
volunteer. And so you find these opportunities, you make a list, and then you vet them carefully. You look at their Facebook, you look at their Twitter.
Hmm.
You can go up on charitynavigator.org, might become, but Charity Navigator, I think .org,
Hmm.
and will tell you all about that nonprofit and what their administrative rate, how much of the money that's donated actually goes to the beneficiary of that charity. So start with what you're interested. You want to teach photography because you're a professional photographer.
Hmm.
Are you a medical professional and you want to do education in schools? So play up on your own interests first and foremost. Are you a plumber and you want to help people set up a clean water system? Those are skills that you have that other people may need.
It's great.
So then make the list and then vet it carefully.
Hmm. Okay. Listen, good advice. All right. So for
Thanks.
folks who want to do a deeper dive, pick up Jeff's book, Travel with Purpose. And what's the website, Jeff?
Travelwithpurposebook.com.
Perfect.
Travelwithpurposebook.com.
Love it. Okay. Listen, you have a wonderful
Hey, thanks very
day.
much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good talking to you.
Remember, lend a hand wherever you go.
Yep. We will. Bye bye.
Okay. Thanks.